much. It's such a pleasure having you here. And there are some of the questions that have been coming out. A lot of people are sort of like worried, and Nigerians are really worried with the fact.
Why are they worried?
That if there is swearing in on May 29th, and that it is now, the person sworn in, the president-elect we have right now, we use that to his advantage. So that's part of the worries. Let me allow you to take that on from there.
Aisha.
Yeah.
I have been blessed to have lived the better part of 55 years, and I'm Nigerian. And I have never been more hopeful about the liberation of Nigeria than I am at this moment in my life. I left Nigeria about 5 weeks ago, precisely because I didn't want to be dealing with these small talks about what might happen or not happen. There's clarity. Everything evil about Nigeria has coalesced into the person of one man. Everything that we have ever complained about Nigeria, everything came together on the 25th of February and produced the president-elect. You know, when you are cooking jollof rice, every one of his ingredients is at the base of the pot. So we say bottom pot. That's where his sweet pass. If you have ever stood for evil in Nigeria, it is embedded in the person named Tinubu. In any way, shape, or form that you have ever stood against evil in Nigeria, it is in his person. So Tinubu for me is a blessing. It clarifies the issues. If you can find accommodation for Tinubu, you're evil. It's simple. It's that simple. It's not about, because it's clear to anyone with half a brain that no election was won by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He lost woefully. But producing him as the president-elect is the crystallization of Nigerian impunity, the madness of Nigeria. Everything that is wrong about Nigeria came together to produce this evil. So those who have any conscience in that country must of necessity forget the idiocy that has allowed them to subjectivize the truth to the point where they find reason not to support the truth. You cannot claim that it's not about the person of Gregory Peter Obi. It has nothing to do with his person. This is about principle. If there are still persons who are hiding behind their disagreements with his person, their objections to style, and they can find reason not to stand up for what they know to be the truth, shame on them. History will not remember Peter Obi's tribe. It wouldn't remember his religion. What it would most remember is the fact that all the aggrieved in Nigeria, the disadvantaged, the disinherited, those who have for long been pained by the way Nigeria has been, they came together, they found common purpose around one man as the arrowhead, not as the issue. Peter Obi is merely the arrowhead of a movement. That's all he is. We all came together for our various reasons, and we found common purpose in the issues that the man raised. Some of us raised those issues. Aisha, you raised some. I raised some. Other people raised some. But we all found common purposes, even where we had disagreements. That's politics. We chose what was offered as an electoral process. We staked our reputations behind a faith that the electoral process would be worthy of support. A law was passed. We stood behind that law. That's man that is completely bereft of integrity or honor that you call Yakubu or whatever he is, the INEC fraudster. And I say that standing here, hoping and praying he will sue me, please. He's a fraudster. That man assured all of us and the entire world that we would have elections predicated on electronic transmission of results. Beavers, IREV, billions were voted. And then the man, look, let me just put it this way. I don't know by what, there were two choices when this happened. We could have gone on the street and started making noise, offered them the opportunity to kill as they had always killed, and then we would have all been talking about normalizing the situation. We'll be talking about peace. Those of us that they would have picked up, they would have picked up. Then they will be talking about free this and free that. Then we'll be talking inauguration. And then there would be normalcy, and Nigerians, as usual, would have moved on. But we knew that that was what they would have loved. See what we done. We did not cause any fight. See all of us, peace-loving. We stand for peace, but it is not at the expense of truth. Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not win any election. There is no person known as Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There is a chimera, somebody who is lying, some figment of somebody's imagination somewhere, who has named himself Bola Ahmed Tinubu, around whom all the evil men in our country have coalesced. They are the ones who might believe that there is something they can win. They've won nothing. When the day comes, we'll see what will happen. Now, they never break. Maybe they say your president selects. I don't know what day they say they are doing whatever they are doing. Let the court tell us how this wuru to the answer will stand. It's always good now. Let the court dance naked in the marketplace. You remember now? Sorry, say I just a talk go. You know, I don't bottle up too many things.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, bros.
Over 1 month. Look at it this way. When NSAS happened and they murdered all the people they murdered, and we came into the public space and spoke about how the system had massacred people. And they said we were lying. They said they were all lies. They even had people come into the public space to claim that we were lying. And then they set up the panel and we followed them to the panel. Each and every member of the panel was nominated by the government. Each and every one of them. Nigerians like me and you, with each and every one of our many peccadillos. It included a retired DIG. A judge, a retired judge, sat at the head of that panel. I believe 2 of the members of that panel have gone on to become judges in Lagos State today. So these were average Nigerians like me and you, with all of the many peccadillos of the Nigerians. But they sat together and they came to a unanimous decision because the evidence that were placed in the public domain and before the courts were way too weighty to be discounted. This is more or less the same situation on a bigger scale. We are back before a system that we do not necessarily trust. I am a member of Ramimba. Before we went to the tribunal, we were against the tribunal. We stood outside the tribunal carrying banner, protesting against the tribunal. And then we decided, you know what? Let's use their tribunal to unmask them in the public space. So we went before the tribunal and we brought evidence into the public space that the government would have preferred were not placed in the public space and that would never have found its way into the public space if we had abandoned that process. We were not going before the tribunal in any hope of justice, but we were determined to use the system to unrobe the Nigerian state. So we used the system. Because we went before the tribunal, we could show all the evidence we had, and the public could also see it. And at the end of the process, unanimous, not one dissenting vote, the tribunal voted that as a fact, there was a massacre. As a fact, the Lagos state government can say anything it cares to say. That's political. I don't expect Jide Sanwo-Olu to come out and say, yes, I facilitated a massacre. I don't expect the Nigerian army to say, yes, we were the murderers. But the tribunal, made up of men and women, nominated by the government, only nominated by the government, found that there was one. So I would say that the situation we are in now, why it's not exactly the same, is analogous to it. Because now, where before a tribunal, I do not have any trust whatsoever, and I repeat myself, let me not be ambiguous. I have zero trust in the Nigerian judiciary. I believe that that judiciary is essentially a brothel. It is no different from a brothel. I believe that our CJN is either completely corrupt or irredeemably incompetent. Those are my beliefs. I have said this before, over a year ago, before Peter Obi or his election came to be, before anybody would start talking about the politicization of my comments. It has nothing to do with Peter Obi's comments. If anybody has the time, let them go to my Arise interview in June last year, when he was appointed the acting CJN. I was categorical in remarking that the man is either incredibly incompetent or unbelievably corrupt. And I stated the basis of my belief. So let's be clear. I am not saying what I'm saying out of any faith in the judiciary. And I'm not suggesting that we are going before the judiciary in the hope that the judiciary might present anything other than what it has always done. After all, the same judiciary produced the ruling in Machina. The same judiciary produced his ridiculous ruling in the case of Akpabio. The same judiciary produced the horrible ruling that we saw in Imo State. So I'm not sitting down here selling anybody any pipe dreams of a judiciary that is either incorruptible or that produces justice. But that process serves to educate our people about what we are up against. There is a clear line that has been drawn. This is a battle between good and evil. It is a battle between whether Nigeria is going to go into the future or whether it is locked into a cycle of self-destruction. Because I cannot for the life of me understand how any country that is desirous of going into the future can be yoked to the career criminal that they have produced as president-elect against the expressed will of the people. If he had won an election, that would be different. If he had won an election, it would simply mean that that is the ugliness and beauty of democracy. We would have had to accept it. But Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whatever his true name might be, did not win any election. He is attempting to steal one. And it is the duty of everybody who has a conscience and who is truly, truly desirous of a Nigeria worthy of being bequeathed to our children. We have a duty to oppose this.
My very own brother, you know, I could listen to you for ages and just not even say anything because I'm just nodding. I'm like, you're speaking my mind. You know, you're just speaking.
You know, I've been quiet for a while. So
yes. Even when I asked you to do this, you say you did give your reasons why and I'm so glad that you are here, because it's like when you keep saying the same thing again to people, they're coming, they begin to feel, oh, okay, what's this person trying to say? But hearing you also reinforce that, I hope a lot of people will see more of that. Like you rightly said, protest was not the way to go. Protest was what they had already planned and were waiting for what to do with. And they would have brought in everything. First of all, bring in violence, just like they did EndSARS. They will be the one perpetuating the violence.
Then they will say it's us.
Yes. And then when they do that, the state will now have legitimacy to bring in arms to protect the state, to bring in the security agents, and they will kill people. And after that, people will be say, since people have died so many times, so say this, let's leave that one. Let's just continue with governance. That's what they were all planned for. And the fact that people did not do that rattled them. That's one thing I always continuously want people to understand. That rattled them.
That's why we are fascists.
And
Yes,
there
now.
are all sorts of names, and
Yeah, look, Aisha, the true idiot is the person who does not learn from history. That's the true idiot. I am blessed to have lived a full cycle. I've been here before. I was here in 1993. That's where we're back in 1993. In the immediate aftermath of the election, I remember making this point. But a lot of people didn't hear me because they were emotional, and also because a lot of us have learned to subjectify the truth. Because it is Mr. A, it is no longer true. But when it is Mr. B, it becomes true. I have seen some of my dear friends who have celebrated the electoral theft by Tinubu, not necessarily because they love Tinubu, but because they have taught themselves to hate Peter Obi, and they imagine that it is Peter Obi's loss. They conveniently ignore the fact that it is our collective loss. If Peter Obi becomes the standard by which you tell the truth, if his involvement shades the truth for you, if it makes the truth less true, then you should look at yourself, not at the man. But what you're seeing today is a situation where, because we have lived these cycles, we can recognize where we are at. In 1993, by this time, they had turned Abiola's mandate into a Yoruba mandate. They had begun the process. And that was exactly what Tinubu and his cohorts have attempted to do. They've attempted to make the Peter Obi mandate an Igbo mandate, a Christian mandate. It's always been their case. They always find how to reduce popular mandates to narrow lines, so that they might then talk about it as though it was not national in nature and it was only sectional. So that's what they've labored very hard to do with Peter Obi. The most obvious of the lies was to have attempted to target an Igbo mandate, conveniently forgetting that the same man won. I'm saying so full chest. He won in Nasarawa, he won in Taraba, he won in Plateau, he won in Benue. Are you getting me? He won significant votes in places where they would once upon a time have merely said the North voted this way, or the North this, the North that, subsuming human beings behind ethnic tags. But for once, Nigerians came together as one, and as they did in 1993, they are attempting to do now. Divide the people along lines so that they might legitimize what they have stolen. But unfortunately for them, and fortunately for us, we had seen it before. It's not going to work this time around. We are not playing that ethnic game, and it's not about religion. They wanted it to be about religion from day one. Muslim ticket. The same people who wanted everything to be about religion are the ones turning around accusing others of religiosity. The same people who wanted it to be about ethnicity are the same ones turning around branding it an ethnic. So when you've seen these cycles, you would understand very quickly that in reality, Peter Obi is Abiola in this cycle. Tinubu is Abacha. And that's dotted in Aso Rock that you call Buhari. That's Babangida, lame duck. complicit in evil, incapable of delivering on the promises of a nation. That's what you are saying. So we've seen this cycle before. We will not tire of telling the truth. If it means going into another cycle as we did in 93, we will. But the one thing that is clear, Nigeria cannot call itself a democracy and enthrone an electoral criminal as its president. It's not possible. This judicial system would have to decide whether it is truly the last hope of the poor man or whether it is part and parcel of the evil that Nigeria has been governed by for decades. It didn't begin with Buhari. It's always been there. But this is the most brazen it has ever been. And it will be entirely up to us to reject this or embrace it. You can count on me to reject this. This is not happening. It's not happening with my consent. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. If I'm the only person standing saying it won't happen, so be it. At least these people will record there was an insane one amongst them. Yes, there was an insane one.
It's better to be insane than to believe in corruption and feel that one is hopeless and continue.
No, I know they call waiting they do us corruption. Our case not be corruption. No, I know they call and corruption.
What do we go call them? What do we go call them?
You're either going to, and I'm serious about this. When you can only speak in terms of corruption when there are cause and effect, when there are consequences to the deed that you are calling corrupt.
Okay.
When there are consequences, then that's corruption, because if the person is caught, something will happen to them. But I will remind you that the man that is your president-elect is a career criminal. So if that was a country where consequences happen,
be in jail.
You will not have a career criminal stealing the presidency, having corrupted every institution because they were already corrupted. So it merely facilitates. See, our case is not corruption. It is the reign of impunity. Impunity. If Ekweremadu had done what he did in Nigeria, what would have happened to him?
They'll be abusing the people that are even asking for justice for the...
So people are already abusing those who think that Ekweremadu is deserving of his punishment.
Yeah,
and it's not just the government, it's the people themselves. So don't call it corruption. Our case is that we've become perverse, completely perverse. Once there is no purpose to genius, it becomes perverse. That's what we've become, perverse. Impunity governs us. Perversion have become our way. It is now that we need to decide whether it's full-blown or whether it's reversible.
And we will